Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have something really fun. It is a new launch by the company Besame Cosmetics. So you may have seen on social media, they kind of exploded and there's articles all about it. But they did a collaboration with Disney for their Snow White 1937 collection. I personally purchased their large storybook palette, a cosmetics bag, and the Seven Dwarfs mini lipstick set. So I did purchase the cosmetics bag and the lipstick separately because when I first initially went on to purchase everything, the storybook palette was saying that it was sold out. So I initially just got those two items. But then I went back on later to just double check and the palette was back in stock for a little while and I was able to grab that one as well. However, for today, I only have the storybook palette because my first order, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I did go back and check on it because I did see it hadn't shipped yet. And on their website, it does say that you have to actually contact them and let them know you want them to ship your products, which is kind of weird. You know, I'm expecting to pay you and then you're gonna ship it automatically. I don't think I need to contact you and tell you I want you to ship my product. But I do have their storybook palette, so whenever I do get in the lipstick set and the cosmetics bag, I'm gonna do a separate video on that, and then I will probably come back to this video and link it down below. So since we just have the palette for today, I'm gonna go ahead and just dive right into the palette itself. I do want to mention that this is probably one of the most attention to detail companies that I have seen. Aside from the palette itself being in the bottom, was a newspaper little printout that they have made for their company, which has about their collection, the Besame girl, about the movie, their boutique, and where to find them. And on the back, you know, a little bit more detail. And then here is more of their line. Now, of course, the main event that was in the box itself was their storybook palette. So this is a book, and here is the little carton it came in. It has the very cute Besame logo and the actual colors that come in here in little apples, and it says all the details, so you just take it out the sleeve. So here is a little bit of a close-up of the book itself. It has the gold little pages that are in on the sides here all the way around. It has their little bookmark. Here is the back. Then you open her up and you get a very, very cute little mirror that comes in here. And then here is the coolest part. This is a picture of Snow White with a little sheet on it which says all of the colors in which they used to make the actual image that was back in 1937. All of the colors that are in this palette are the ones in which they used for the movie. So you can flip away this little carton and there you can see the image, and then flip it back and then see everything that was used. And then you flip the page and you get a little bit more info on how to create, you know, the original Snow White. And here is of course a little bit more info, and then up in the corner here you have an original image that is from the 1937 movie. It is supposed to be an image that has not been seen in a very, very long time, which is really cool that they put that in here. Flipping the page once more, you then get a list of all of the shades that are in the palette itself, which here is the palette. It comes with a little plastic sheet in front of it, and then here are all the colors. You do get 20 shades in here. And this company is cruelty-free, it's paraben-free, and all of their eyeshadows are actually vegan. It is also made in the USA. It is a company based out in LA. Also on their website, it does say that they are a company that hand finishes their products, which is pretty intense that they are able to do it. I did forget to mention that this palette itself, the storybook palette, is retailed for $68, so it is kind of high up there in price. But they are a smaller company, I believe, and they do produce smaller quantities, so that it could be the reason why it's a little bit more expensive. The amount of detail that is in it is, of course, probably another reason that it is higher price point. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch all 20 shades for you guys so that way you can get an idea of how they swatch on skin and a little bit more idea of how they look outside of the pan. Before I start the swatching, the names are really cool, as in it's Pastel number 10, Saddle 104, this one is Saddle 106, And then there's another one that's Brick 105. So it is all the actual ink names that they are using, which is really cool little detail. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run my finger through one of them, and then now this was pastel number 10, and it is very much my skin tone, so it's not really gonna show up much. But I will probably try and get as many as I can on one arm, and then I'll let you guys know where I stop. So here you guys can see I swatched the first two top rows. And here are the last two rows. So as I'm sure you guys could tell, they swatched kind of okay. I'm not really too impressed about it. Some of the colors, of course, are very, very beautiful. Some of them are very soft and muted shades. Now, I'm sure you guys did also notice that these colors are mainly pastel shades. They are not gonna be bright, bold, and like in-your-face colors. These are very soft, they are muted, they are kind of like everyday shades. Of course, you are able to play with it and, you know, make it your own. I used only their palette on my eyes today, and I'm gotta say I really, really love it. I will go into later, I'm gonna tell you guys which shades I used and drop in the clips like I did in my previous kind of review videos. I felt like it worked out very well, so that way it wasn't too long of a video. So here are some of the cons that come to this. So this is of course a very large scaled book. As you can see, compared to me, it is a, you know, decent size. This is more something that I see being placed on your vanity or your bathroom counter or anywhere like that as a display piece. It's not going to be something in which you are going to travel with and, you know, be kind of convenient in that way. My next couple little gripes about the palette itself is I did attempt to use their mirror today when I was completing my look. However, found it kind of tedious because I kept having to flip to the mirror and then flip between all of these sheets of papers, dip back in there, I release it, I go back to the mirror, and then when I need to dip back into the color, I had to lift back up the shades, dip back into it, release the pages, and go back and forth like that. Also, it is not the most lightest thing that you want to hold as you're doing your makeup. It is kind of inconvenient. I wish the mirror could have been placed maybe a little bit closer to the actual shade. That is one of the things in which it's kind of like, I'm probably never ever gonna actually use the mirror for applying my makeup. It is very cute, but the actual functionality of it being used with the palette is not really all there. Now, talking about these shadows just on their own. So of course this is more of a pastel kind of color scheme. So if you are not interested in pastel shades or anything like that, this may not be the palette for you. This is more geared towards a specific kind of person. Someone who really loves the muted pastel looks, that's very classic. I do feel like you can work with some of the shades and make them a little darker, or a little bit more of a punch like I did on my eyes today. But if you are not looking at this and it is not screaming to you, then this might be one in which you could pass on. Now, aside from that, I will say that these are extremely, extremely powdery. You're gonna take a brush and you're gonna dip into it lightly and it just starts, I don't know if you guys could see that. It just starts falling everywhere. It's very, very, very powdery. So you do have to kind of clean it off quite a bit. It is something that I do find with a few vegan shadows, is that some tend to be a little bit more powdery. However, I do really find that they apply beautifully on the eyelids. They are very blendable, they are very pigmented. It's just a little bit more of fallout, so if you are someone who absolutely hates that, then this is going to be a huge con for you. Personally, if there is fallout, as long as it blends well on my eyelids and it goes on smoothly, you know, it's all of that good stuff, I do not care if there is fallout. I can easily, you know, just dust it away and just clean off the palette. It's not that big of a deal to me. Let's talk a little bit more of the actual price. Taking out the entire palette and the detail that was put into it, and just taking into consideration the price. So you are paying $68 and you are getting 20 shades. If you divide the shades into the price, that makes each shade about $3.40, which is not bad in comparison to other single shadows. It is on the higher price point for palettes themselves, but you do get quite a lot of shadows in here, which I can very much appreciate. One more thing I totally forgot to mention is that this is an entire palette based off of matte shades. None of these colors are gonna be shimmery. But you can always supplement in, you know, a highlighter shade or anything of that matter if you want to. Personally, I'm someone who I don't really like all shimmery palettes, but if I have an all matte palette, I personally really enjoy it. I feel like you can do a lot more with an entire matte palette than an entire shimmery palette. That is just my opinion. So I'm going to tell you guys what I used on my eyes today. So the first thing I did for my eye look today is I took my Wet n Wild eyeshadow brush and I went into pastel number 10 and I just set the entire lid after I had primed my eyes with the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion in Eden. Next step for the transition shade, I went in with Saddle 104 and my Morphe Y16 brush. And I just applied that all over to the crease on both eyes. In order to further deepen up the crease, I took Saddle 106 and my Makeup Geek soft domed brush. And I applied that all over the crease and a little bit in the outer V. Today, I also really wanted to go for a smoky eye that was with the blue shade in here because I thought it was very, very beautiful. I did test out this palette previously yesterday and I found that applying the blue shade is not enough on its own. So today I did go in with Gray 111 and my brush that comes in an Urban Decay palette on the flat side. And I applied that very low on the lid and then blended it out using my Makeup Geek defined crease brush. And then for the blue all over the lid, I went in with my Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadow brush and the shade Royal 111. And I applied that all over the lid and then using my defined crease brush by Makeup Geek again to kind of blend it out and then go back and forth, reapplying blue and then going back to blending and then back to the blue. I then really wanted to have some fun with the colors and I popped some of the pastel number 6 on my inner corners using my Morphe Y22 brush. And I feel like it looks really, really cool. It's a very nice, bright yellow. It does start off kind of like nothing in a way. You do have to build it up, but once you do build it up, it is very, very beautiful. So for my final thoughts on this palette, I do find that it is an extremely beautiful, well-made, detailed palette. It is very, very gorgeous, and the colors are something in which I do feel like I get very inspired by. It is something that you can really kind of customize what you want to do and all of that, and it is a piece in which you're probably going to put on your vanity, display it, or like put it anywhere you want just to kind of show it off. It's one of those pieces. As far as the quality of the shadows, I feel like they were very blendable, they were very pigmented, they applied very, very nicely. Of course, there is the issue of the fallout, but that is not something in which I'm too concerned about. When I did apply my eyeshadow, I did put a little bit of extra translucent powder underneath the eyes and I was able to whisk it away. Another thing is, of course, if you are experiencing heavy fallout, is to, of course, do your eyes before you do the rest of your face. But for me, I feel like this palette is 100% worth it. It is beautiful. I will absolutely cherish this palette. If you are someone in which this color scheme does not scream to you, you are not a fan of all matte shades, and you feel like this is just something that you're kind of like about, I'd say skip it. It's not worth $68 if you are not going to be falling like madly in love with this palette. then I would say save your money, purchase something else, you know, do whatever you want, but you know, this is one you can kind of leave. As for the rest of the products, I was trying to leave that out of the actual review of the palette. I am kind of disappointed in their actual shipping, that you have to contact them in order for them to send your products. I do know that the rest of my items are in transit now, so I will be doing another review on the rest of the items, so be sure to keep an eye out for those ones because I will be doing that as soon as I get them in the mail. I do really hope that you guys enjoy this video. It was informative and, you know, it kind of helped you make your decision if you want to purchase the palette for yourself when they relaunch their collection, because I do believe that's going to be happening on the 20th of this month, so that way you guys are prepared and you can kind of know if you actually want to go through and purchase it. Please let me know down in the comment section below if you guys are planning to pick up this palette or if you are passing on it, it's just not your cup of tea. I'd love to hear from you guys. And if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I post 2 times a week. I post once on Wednesdays, the second time on Sundays. So I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!